Working with components that do not fit on a breadboard makes it difficult to experiment on them. For example, this integrated circuit, named TDA2003, which is an audio power amplifier, has 5 pins, distributed on 2 rows that are shifted between each other so that the pins cannot fit on the breadboard unless I bend them heavily. Although I could do that, the continuous strain of the pins caused by the repetitive use of this IC on the breadboard could break them and make the IC useless. One way to avoid this issue is to create a small board that fit on the breadboard via appropriate pin headers. In short, we need to create what is called a breakout board. What you'll see in this video can be applied to any other IC, or you can think of building full circuits to connect to a breadboard using this same technique, so it is easier to experiment on them. Hi there, I am Carlo Carrano and this is Electronics Engineering Made Easy. The first thing we need to do is to solder the pin headers to the board that we want to use as a breakout board. The easiest way to do that is to position the pin headers on the breadboard in the predetermined locations, and then position the perforated board on it and solder the pins. You can see how in this case we have 3 small headers, 2 for connecting the breakout board to the power supply rails of the breadboard, and the other to connect the remaining pins of the IC to the breadboard. Once the pin headers are soldered to the perf board, we can solder to it the IC and the capacitors that are normally used to filter out the power supply. In this case, a 100 microfarad electrolytic capacitor and a 100 nanofarad capacitor. Now we have to make sure that we polarize the electrolytic capacitor the right way. So since the breadboard is going to be attached this way, the positive will be on that side, and so that's where we have to put the capacitor. Same way. There you go. There. And now we have to attach the cables. Let's get some aid to make this simple. Okay, so the capacitors are connected together. Let's connect now the IC. And for this we will have to bend its legs. However, we will do it once and for all, so the risk for breaking the legs will be minimized. So let's do it this way. Okay, I think I did it. So now we have the 5 pins all in line. That's good. And now we can solder them. So let's see if this works. Positive on the top. And there you go. That's how this is gonna work. Now let's connect the cables. So the breakout board is complete. Now the one thing is missing still is a heatsink for this IC, since this IC is gonna dissipate about 10 watts the max, so we want to have a reasonable heatsink to avoid any issues. And here's the heatsink that I'm gonna use for this transistor, for this IC actually, which I will connect this way. I'm gonna add just a little bit of thermal paste to assure a good contact from the perspective of the heat dissipation. Just gonna go right here. The device is ready. I also spent some time to write down here the pinout of the IC and its number. So this is the device complete. Now one last thing, since there is this thing that moves a little bit, what I'm gonna do will be to flatten it to the board and then put some glue over here and over here that would prevent this from moving in the future, so it won't break the pins of the IC. Once this is dry, this will be a perfect breakout board that I can install on the breadboard and use the IC already connected to the power supply and with its own capacitors to filter in the noise. Of course, you can do the same procedure for other kind of components, other kind of ICs or more complex schematics that you can use as a single board to attach to a breadboard. See you next time and happy experiments!